Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliott Raben, so get ready to get triggered. Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliott Raben, as you might have heard in our intro, and with me, as usual, is my expert panel, Marshall, Adam, and Daniel. How are you guys?
Very good.
Just came out of a midterm, so you can ask me after.
Tough midterm?
No, it was just it's 8 a.m. midterm. That's the thing, bro. Like, that sucks. Well.
Fair enough.
Oh, my mic.
It's just school
That's
for you,
good.
you know. So.
Yeah,
Take down
my
your
mic wasn't
levels
on.
a bit.
That's good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's good.
We're a little hot everywhere. You're hot too. I mean, in terms of levels.
Oh.
But
What do you mean?
I mean, it
Elliott, what
also
are
is
we?
pretty hot in here. I'm not
that is
sure
true.
if,
You're right.
Yeah.
if the viewers were aware. It's actually this
Oh,
very
yeah,
few
no, this
times
is
hot.
ridiculous.
Very times you'll see me with a white
Yeah.
T-shirt on.
Yeah.
So.
it's because the door's always closed. There's always a show going on. So, but anyway,
Let's do it.
let's get right to it. Before
get
before we begin, as per Spirit Live rules and regulations, say I memorize this now. All opinions expressed are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, so we're going to have to end the show a little early today, about 5 minutes early, just because a couple of us have midterms right after. So we're going to fly by real quick the weekly update. We're going to start with Kushner's top clearances gone. So Jared Kushner, who is Trump's son-in-law, a bunch of his top clearances have been revoked. What do you guys think about that?
It was reported earlier that it was very shady how he got those clearances to begin with. So the fact that they got revoked at all is something I'm very surprised about. The nepotism in the Trump administration is ridiculous. So I'm just surprised that they actually did anything at all, and it's good.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think I want Kushner and Ivanka out. I think they're doing much more harm than good. As we saw with who is interviewing Ivanka, was that Jake Tapper? No.
With the accusation, when they were asking questions about Trump's accusations, I don't know the name.
It was a woman. It wasn't
Still a
Jake
little hot.
Tapper.
No, it was Jake Tapper, I believe, in what I saw at least.
Was it NBC or
Maybe I'm
something
thinking
like
of a
that?
different
Yeah,
one.
and anyway, that really, I don't think she did anything wrong there, but it really did go to show that she should not be working in the White House. I don't think she did exactly what most people would have and should have done. She handled it well. It's just that she's not in a position where she should be
In the White House at all.
Yeah, and it was a bit of an inappropriate question to ask the daughter of the president, but not necessarily an inappropriate question to ask one of the advisors of the president. So,
Oh, okay.
I think-
I see what you're getting at.
yeah,
Like it's the two different hats kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, it's just very problematic when you have so many close people into the administration. Like, we haven't seen that before with any administration where like relatives like have that much access to what the president has, right? So it's very, it raises a lot of concerns. So like, I feel like it's better like that. Like, not everyone needs to know everything. So like, there's certain people that if you're elected, you have the responsibility for that kind of stuff, you know. So
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so moving forward, again, I told you we were breezing right by. Moving forward, the Olympics have ended. Russia didn't get to march under their flag because they done fucked again. But here's the thing. Here's my thing about it, because the reason is that one of their athletes was, accused of doping, right? Because they found it in his urine specimen. But they're calling it sabotage, and I kind of believe them, because who fucking dopes for curling?
Well, I mean, it depends. Blood doping, was he a sweeper?
No, it was like doubles. It was mixed doubles curling, but curling.
No. What Marshall's saying is that there are people that throw the rock,
Yeah.
and then there are people that sweep. The
Yeah,
people
but
that sweep
because
beat some-
it's mixed doubles, it's only two of them. They both have to do each.
Oh, well, yeah. Still, I mean, I
yeah,
think
well,
that would.
need
there's still
sweepers,
physical
though.
activity that it's
Yeah.
going to be like.
I think it would give you the edge
Curling.
because, I mean, what you got to realize is when you're
Hey.
out of breath, it's a lot harder to keep steady, a lot harder to concentrate. And you will be out of breath if you're. It's a difficult activity.
That type of attitude towards curling is the same attitude everyone has in the
No.
general public towards esports and stuff like that. Towards chess, all that kind
Here's
of
the
stuff.
thing, though. I like curling.
I like
though.
curling
That's
too.
the thing.
I diss
but
curling.
I just.
I
but-
learned how to curl actually, and it's pretty interesting. Like,
But there is
the
physical
technique,
activity involved,
but
right?
that's
Yeah.
the thing, though.
It's just
You know?
in my mind, it's just like of all sports, it's going to be curling. So if somebody did
You don't
sabotage
think that would
them,
happen there, though.
yeah,
Yeah, there
that's
you
what
go.
that. If somebody were to sabotage somebody, you'd think it'd be in a more endurance, like skiing,
cross-country
or,
skiing,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So anyway, it's just interesting. Also, my question is, how come the South Korean team played hockey by themselves? Like, or they were speed skating by themselves. They weren't the unified Korean
I think
team.
because
Well,
North
yeah.
Korea has a very distinct pride, and I think speed skating is the North Koreans' national sport.
Oh.
So I think that's the one excuse for them to go by themselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
fair
I
enough.
think that's from
and-
what I heard,
Yeah,
so.
the agreement wasn't that they had to do every sport by them together. It was just certain sports, like hockey was a big deal.
Yeah. Okay.
It was up to kind of a cooperative agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something I was wondering.
Yeah,
for sure.
and Tessa Virtue, Scott Moyer,
Yeah.
Hey.
last skate on the ice, skated to Tragically Hip.
Mhm.
Really, really, really Canadian. I'm sad to see them go. My mom's friends with Tessa Virtue's dad.
Really?
Yeah, they're such a great duo for Canada. They're such a great they're great poster children for the country. They're very talented in speed skating, and it's a pleasure.
Figure skating, right?
Figure skating.
Okay.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if they
sorry.
got
Ice
into
dancing,
speed
ice
skating
dancing.
on the side. Or...
It's a pleasure to have them as athletes when I'm like young as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you
so-
get to witness greatness. in the
Yeah,
moment,
that's
you know?
what I was getting at. You witness greatness.
And so the question everybody's wondering, are they a thing or not?
I think they are.
I really hope
I
they
was
are.
sitting and watching TV with my family, and we were convinced that there is no way from 8 years old until 30, there is not one time that they got frisky or like something of any kind of that nature happened.
Well, did you see that interview they had where Scott slipped up?
No.
They were talking and they're like, who will sleep through something, right? And they said Scott usually sleeps through something, and then he kind of like mumbled while he was changing. He's like, "You're kind of restless sometimes, kind of."
Yeah,
Oh.
I think they're absolutely a thing.
Yeah.
I don't care that much, but just I don't know much about them. But just I watched the one thing where they skated. I don't know. It was where they won the gold medal, like one of the last nights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you could see it. You could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way it
just hope
can't be
so.
a thing though, because like to be like with that type of activity in that sport,
Yeah.
it requires so much chemistry and cooperation from the person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even
So how are you not going to be in a relationship with them?
Yeah.
Because I think that would actually like improve like your chemistry
Yeah.
and everything. Right? It would make you a better team.
Just like those
right?
those gay soldiers in ancient Greece who fought better because they were fighting fighting with
Spartans
their
for
lovers.
life.
I don't know if you ever heard of that, but that's
I
pretty
haven't.
interesting.
Me
Yeah,
neither.
because then you
News.
want to you want to impress them and you want to protect them and you want to.
Oh
work
yeah,
better
yeah, okay.
together
No,
and-
this does.
And
ring
they were
familiar
ancient
bells.
Greece's best soldiers.
damn.
Nice.
The gay units,
fueled by so much testosterone in the room.
and they
you know?
fought naked. But I think a lot of people fought naked back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Fair
more of an
enough.
intimidation thing.
Yeah.
I remember I heard about that.
Yeah.
Was there
so-
anything else you wanted to talk about? for breaking
Yeah,
news?
there was two more things. We'll just go. Trump wanting to arm teachers with guns. Just
Idiotic.
real quick.
That's an egg. That's a no.
There was this really really funny meme, as the kids would say, that I saw, and it was basically like, you want to arm teachers with guns, but have you seen them set up a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, I think that it's not. I'm not for it. I don't advocate for it. I'm not super against it. I am very against arming them involuntarily. Like if you make it part of the job description, no way. I think in certain situations that teachers being able to have their own weapon that they are trained with in the school, I think that might be fine. But
like a personal weapon, not like a teacher weapon.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
and I think having them be able to bring it into the school, and I think that's something that would have been very normal, like in the South a couple decades ago, and I think that in that situation it's okay. But you get like a New England teacher who's never seen a gun before in their life, and all of a sudden you tell them, okay, you now have to carry a weapon.
Yeah.
No way, that's ridiculous. But,
my issue is, one, it's not like the 1960s South anymore, and two, Trump is like, maybe we'll pay them a little more, maybe whatever. And teachers don't make enough in the States as it is. Like, you want to incentivize teachers with more money to arm them. And some teachers are very anti-war, anti-gun, and you're going to force something that goes against their values upon them. It doesn't make sense.
No, I would never want it if it's involuntary in no way. But
so the last thing that Adam, I think you brought up, it was that. Well, you talk about it because
it's the liberal budget.
No. I meant that will be discussed in the main topic.
Yes.
I meant about the South Africa.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, that was you.
Marshall.
Yeah. No. So South Africa, they just got a new president. Jacob Zuma stepped down. New president's a bit of a radical type of guy, and their parliament just voted to allow expropriation of white-owned farms with no compensation. And it hasn't been made into law yet. They still have to do a parliamentary review of it. And but the ruling party voted in favor of it. And I mean, it's interesting because you've got all sorts of issues with that now, and the government has largely been turning a blind eye to the forcible taking of white-owned farms in South Africa. But now they're officially advocating for it, and I think that.
So we've discussed this before, but do you want to explain to the rest of the audience what was exactly going on? So as an effort for is it like a post apartheid thing? That's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to fix
I'll try and make this quick, but Nelson Mandela was big on giving stolen land back to the original owners. And now I think Nelson Mandela's intentions there were fine. I don't think there was anything wrong with that. But the way that it's been interpreted is wrong, because a lot of this is not stolen land. What a lot of people don't realize is that the South Cape of or southwestern Cape of South Africa was not inhabited until the Boers showed up. There was certain areas, of course, where they did come in and move people, displace people. But the southwestern Cape was not inhabited, and that's where most of the farmsteads are set up. And now they're being stolen in the name of, returning stolen land. And people are being killed, people are being raped, and it's a damn shame that now the government's officially coming out and saying, yes, this is okay.
The whole thing about this is that post-apartheid South Africa, Nelson Mandela's vision of post-apartheid South Africa has been polluted.
Oh yeah,
in many ways by corruption.
I love that word.
And
it's a great word.
And when Jacob Zuma came into power, he got infinitely worse. Like there have been a lot of shady legislations towards the white population of South Africa, and I'm all for repatriation and reclamation of stolen land, but this is anecdotal. But for example, I had a lot of distant family living in South Africa who were wealthy, and post-apartheid, they didn't want to leave post-apartheid, but a lot of their their parents were getting old in Israel, and they were like, you know what, might as well time to move. And it was a big struggle to get their money out of the bank in South Africa. And I don't know if that's because of the legislation against the white population of South Africa, but the sort of hate, I get where the hate comes from for sure, but that doesn't make it valid. So it's a long line of problematic policies.
For sure.
Yeah, it just shows it's just a radical response to apartheid, just because there was so much atrocity,
and I get
so
the
much
anger
injustice
completely
happening towards black South Africans there. So
and it's no place for me to tell black folks how to deal with anger and guilt, but this just doesn't, not guilt, sorry, anger and frustration, but this just doesn't seem right.
Well, then actually we could use Black Panther as a comparison then, because if you really want to see Killmonger was
I haven't seen it yet, so
okay, fine. So all I'm gonna say is one line that they're saying there was Black Panther says it to the villain. He's like, you don't have to I realize you see all this injustice in the world, but your method of trying to solve this, trying to fix the problem using violence, isn't going to work, right? So then, an example of the South African government now, they think this is their solution to help black people in their country, right? But the problem is what's the casual thing? The ends don't justify the means don't justify the ends.
Don't justify the means.
Sorry about that. But that's what I'm saying though. That's all.
the reasoning is completely flawed too. It's just like who is this stolen from? The southwestern Cape was not inhabited. The Boers were the first people to inhabit.
Like, how
it.
far into back history do we have to go to find out who would be the original
1500s.
proprietors?
Yes.
See, but people wouldn't say that because then that's be like the period of colonization and stuff. So it'd just be white people rewriting history. So like we can't use that as factual evidence. Then that's what.
I think Elliott wants to move on here.
Yeah, we gotta move on. But we can maybe even in the future do an entire episode on South Africa.
That'd be great.
And
I
this
love
is
it.
where-
I'm
that'd be sick.
very,
You're a
very-
big guy on South Africa.
I'm very into South Africa. I love all the bands and all the culture and the politics. And
So, our main story today is Justin Trudeau. Trudeau or Trudeau? That's the question we ask ourselves following Justin Trudeau's recent trip to India. People of all sides of the political spectrum are calling this trip disastrous. Between all the scandals and awkward moments, it left a lot of people asking questions, including that of his future of being prime minister. On today's show, we dig deep into this trip and his recent budget, of course, and his future. Before we start, remember we are live on Facebook, so you can comment on our feed, and you'll have your thoughts read live on air. So let's begin. First of all, just so our viewers know, why was he in India?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
there's a bunch of reasons, but I suppose the point of the trip was a diplomatic visit.
Right, of course, but in terms of like any specifics that he wanted to mention while in India?
It was trade, I believe.
Are they part of the TPP, India? I believe they are. Or no?
No, Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Sorry, never mind. But so it was a trade diplomacy thing. Just you want to have these good relations before you get into a trade agreement, right? So that you're making sure that both sides have
An understanding.
and have a friendly relationship, so no one's trying to screw each other over. And so that was the idea, at least.
Yeah. The whole thing for me with this is that, like, Trudeau is not as controversial as someone like Donald Trump, and when Donald Trump does something ridiculous, it's now been so watered down that it doesn't really have any meaning anymore.
Well, because he does something ridiculous every day.
That's
right?
the thing. So the fact that Justin Trudeau did this stands out so much more alone because he hasn't done anything this bad ever. So, Trump went to the Middle East over the summer and put his hand on a glowing orb with the king of Saudi
That was so
and the
funny.
president of Egypt, and they were like, over the orb and like whatever. And if Justin Trudeau did something like that, he would be getting torn apart.
Yeah.
But this trip to India was bad, and giving him the benefit of the doubt, I want to like him. And when I was watching him Bangara, and when I was watching him at the Taj Mahal, I was like, ugh. It was really cringy.
I think they interviewed some like Indian fashionista or something like that.
Yeah, no,
from
the
John
Indian
Oliver.
media tore him apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guy critiquing him, he's like, "Oh, like, look at his choice of clothing and stuff like that. All the stuff he's wearing, traditional Indian stuff, right?
Yeah.
he's wearing more stuff than actual Indians do in
Yeah.
India.
Yeah, and, like,
And then-
even news commentators in India, they're like, we don't dress like that every day, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
One of them criticized him being is like, "Oh, you look like an extra from a Bollywood movie,
Yeah.
like, in a dance scene." Like,
Yeah, I saw this meme. It was like white people when they do yoga one time.
Literally.
It's like,
and it's I think the thing that can hurt political careers the most, more than corruption, more than bad policy, is being embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see that with Trump, right? And I think that more so than a lot of policies that people may disagree with, or the nepotism, as we discussed, any number of issues with his cabinet, is he's embarrassing. And I think that's people's main issue with him, largely, like the everyman's issue. There's a lot of people who have much bigger issues with him, but the everyman.
I think he was trying to copy his dad. His dad had the famous pirouette, so he was trying out some other dance moves.
I don't know about that.
And it was embarrassing. It was like the whole time
it's
you
very
look
funny.
at it, and how can you not immediately just go, "What the hell are you doing,
Yeah.
Justin?" Like, man, the outfit, the dancing,
I want to know who like gave the go ahead for all this crap.
Yeah,
Why can't
no,
you-
his
Gerald
PR
Butts, I bet.
person.
Yeah, I mean, just given how out of touch Gerald Butts is, and how much Trudeau loves to,
Here, I'll
trust
give you
Gerald
another
Butts.
example. Like, if Elliott, put the camera on for me, please.
Oh,
So look at this jacket. This jacket's very colorful and crazy and stuff like that, right? Oh, sorry, I was not.
Yeah.
So basically, the jacket originates from Guatemala and stuff like that, because like a traditional fashion style, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
their clothing, right? So
Yeah.
usually women, they're going to be wearing that type of style with like a massive like skirt all the way down, right?
Yeah.
If Trudeau ever were to go to Guatemala, what would be the point of him be wearing something like that?
Yeah.
It doesn't show them like, oh, this isn't going to increase Guatemalan Canadian relations
Yeah,
stuff. Like,
no.
It doesn't. It doesn't do enough positive things.
Yeah.
It just makes you look ridiculous, you know.
And there's a
Yeah.
certain level of engaging with the culture that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
there- yeah.
For example, when Trump was in Israel and he wore the kippah when he
Yeah.
went to the Western Wall, like
That makes sense,
It makes a lot of
though.
sense because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
That's just what you do. You don't. When you go to India, you don't wear a wedding
Yeah.
garb like just to walk
Oh, which
around.
Yeah. Dancing.
And you what's another example of something you might do?
No, if you-
Okay, so if you go to Japan and you're having tea with Shinzo Abe, you might wear some traditional tea
Yeah.
ceremony garb.
Or
but
yeah,
you don't wear it the whole time while you're walking around. You don't get off the plane. All right, ready for some tea ceremony? Like
no, like if he went to India and he went to a temple, you take off your shoes traditionally before
Yeah.
you go into a temple. He'd take off your shoes, fine. If you were to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre on Ash Wednesday and you put the ash on your forehead, totally fine.
Yeah, it's all about just being respectful.
There's a sort of a limit or like an area in which you want to respect, where you go from respecting the culture to just making a fool of yourself.
And some people have called what he's done cultural appropriation. What do you think of that?
I think to some degree it was. I don't know where he was, but he had I don't want to call it a do-rag. There's a better word for it, but he had like that on it.
like the turban.
Yeah.
So like the that's what you wear if you're not Sikh, or I mean Sikhs wear it too, but like,
Yeah.
if you're not Sikh, that's what you wear.
Yeah, I don't want to call it a do-rag
Yeah.
because I'm
No, it's
sure
that-
there is a traditional
Yeah,
word for it.
There is a word.
But you know
for
what
it,
I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I know. Yeah.
I sent a picture to the group chat earlier. It's just him sort of in this praying mode, wearing it with the whole, garb. I'm like, oh God. and I don't know, if I were prime minister, which I might be one day, but if I were prime minister,
Hot
and-
take.
Not if I have anything to do with it.
Oh my god.
And I went to India, and I was like, okay, you know what? I want to respect the culture. He went way too far. It's too much.
Yeah, I feel like that would be appropriate for like going to the Taj Mahal or maybe going to like one of the sacred
Yeah.
rivers or something like
Yeah.
that.
And not
like-
not the Taj Mahal, isn't that? That's not a religious building, is it?
In
it's
a
a
way,
memoriam.
It's the tomb of a
Yeah.
very important.
Well, there's still a
person.
lot of cultural importance.
yeah,
there,
yeah.
so.
There's a lot of significance towards it.
Yeah,
but not when
actually-
you're exiting a freaking plane.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, did he get off the plane like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Did you
he
not
came
see
off
the
the
photo
plane
up?
I'm just-
right at the top, right at the top of the stairs. He
And
was with
that-
his
that's
family.
about a 16-hour flight, and I'm just imagining him like the entire 16 hours. Just all right, can't wait for this photo op.
I'm sure he changed like an hour before the plane landed, but oh my God, just
Even an hour. Wow.
excellent.
And so what? Well, first of all, Daniel's pulling up the video. When he has it, it'll be.
Yeah,
ready.
there one. There, yeah, that one.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
picture.
Like that's the
Yeah.
orange
Yeah.
headdress that you were talking about.
But
I couldn't find him getting out of the plane.
no, but do you
Well,
have
no, the one
do
of
you
him
have-
dancing.
Yeah, dancing.
Is it
Hold
the
on,
video?
let me put the camera
Yeah,
on
sure.
that. Let me just. So if
I don't think
anybody
we can get audio, right?
actually we can through this. Okay, I don't think anybody's seen this, but or whoever hasn't, this is Justin Trudeau. Like, is he gonna do more?
I want to see if he's gonna do more.
No, I think
No,
he's done.
Yeah.
That's the main
But-
thing, though.
But holy schmo, there, yeah.
It's good. Like I see,
Cringe,
like
cringe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I just no.
And it's not because it's Trudeau. Like nobody could pull that off. No, I mean no. Like, Prime Minister of
Yeah.
Canada.
bro,
could
if
pull
you're gonna
that
do
off.
that though, like at least get some proper like lessons if you're gonna dance bhangra,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and,
That's
and
just hard.
There's an earlier video of him at an event in Brampton doing a
Yes.
very similar thing.
Yeah,
And that one I find it's still better than that.
that was when he was campaigning
Yeah.
to be Prime Minister, and that's a bit better. But when you're the Prime Minister, you just looks like an idiot.
A lot of people said that what he did was to kind of get the Sikh votership because, Jasmeet Singh is now the head of the NDP.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think of that?
Well, I think the Sikh votership is divided to begin with. Jagmeet Singh, and we'll get to this later, but Jagmeet Singh was a very hardline supporter of Sikh independence, and there are a lot of Sikh Canadians that don't necessarily believe in that movement.
And the ones who don't believe in it are vehemently against it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that
But
story
they want to
about
stay with India and everything.
the
yeah.
liberal
The dinner?
a bunch of Sikhs in BC who were members of the Liberal Party did a big spectacle of cutting up their Liberal Party memberships because of Trudeau getting Harjit Sajjan. Was it?
Harjit.
Because his father was a big supporter of Sikh independence or of Khalistani independence.
Yeah. And so
It's ridiculous.
one of the other scandals that happened on the trip was Trudeau was having a dinner, and somehow a former somebody who was convicted of attempted murder
Yeah.
was invited to the dinner.
Yeah.
How does that just slide through?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, so he was charged but never convicted, and I'm not sure what happened there, why he wasn't.
I think
because
he-
he was
oh,
charged in India and then got away to Canada. Is that what happened? Or
Is there
I
no
think-
extradition treaty?
oh, I would imagine.
And
not.
this is an Indian or this is like
This was
This
a
is
Sikh
a
Indian.
Okay.
he was trying to murder one of the politicians.
Mhm.
Oh.
Well, I'm not
cabinet
sure.
members. Cabinet
I'm not
members.
sure exactly what happened with the actual crime or the legal proceedings, but what happened with Trudeau and his and this guy I do know about. And so it's the chair of the Pacific Liberal Caucus, who's an MP for the Liberal Party out in BC, I believe. And he decided to shoot this guy an invitation, knowing full well who he was. And
Yo, he knew who he was.
He knew?
yeah, and so he basically came to a reception and got a picture with this MP. He got a picture with Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, and then they found out who he was and rescinded his invitation to the dinner, and the MP resigned, and
that's how important this was. Wow.
he tried to assassinate someone, tried to do a political assassination,
Oh my.
yeah.
Yeah, no. I just remember, like, I was with my dad when we were watching the news and we got the notification, and then he was like, "How does that happen? Like, there are so many people that vet every single guest to these events. And, like, how do you slip up that bad? Like, I don't get the oversight." And it's just like I don't think it would have been as bad had the clothing issues not have happened.
Yeah.
I think this
Well,
just
he also misquoted a lot of numbers. He said that through this partnership, $1 billion will be invested into Canada.
that happens
which-
all the time.
Yeah, but he always, I think,
I feel like you
attacks
take,
others for not doing it.
Does anyone hear
Oh,
that
there's
noise?
Yeah.
construction.
Oh,
There's
okay.
construction going on. In
I
this
feel like you just
building.
gotta take that with a grain of salt, though. Like,
Yeah.
Never believe numbers. Politicians will love to boost numbers, then say, "Whoa, that's our projections." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just something else that the media covered, and that's why I wanted to mention it. So it was just the trip was right.
wait, were they trying to cover that material as accurate as if like $1 billion of trade is going to come into Canada?
Yeah, because he didn't mention any money going into India about it. He misquoted the numbers completely by like several $100 million.
Shit.
So it was a big deal as well. But
That's just more of an issue. He just needs to be fact checking his stuff, though.
Yeah.
That's just more of an accountability.
and that's
issue
with
for that.
everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
But the next question that I want to ask is
Hold on, I want to clarify something. So he was convicted of murder. He was charged and convicted of murder. He was
That's the guy that you got invited, right?
yeah.
Okay.
He was not convicted of terrorism. He was charged with terrorism, but not convicted of it.
okay.
That's what I was getting mixed up with.
So now moving away from the trip in India, thank God, his government just announced their budget. That's something you want to talk about, Adam.
Yeah.
Any highlights you want to point out?
Well, I'll pull up the numbers now, but from what I'm looking at, it's $5 billion over the next 10 years into indigenous settlements.
5 billion?
$5 billion.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, $5 billion over the next 10 years into investing in indigenous communities.
That's crazy.
Hold on, I'm getting out the article I was reading before I got in here. Yeah. Okay, $21.5 billion in new spending over 6 years. $231 million to address the opioid crisis. Oh, wow. Opioid crisis.
Someone's on
Opioid
opioids.
crisis. It's rabbit season. 5 weeks extra leave for two-parent families under the EI parent sharing benefit.
It's a good idea.
$173 million over clean drinking water reserves. $1.4 billion over 6 years into new funding for First Nations Child and Family Services. RCMP getting $10 million to reevaluate unfounded sexual assault cases, which I agree with. Families, $81 million into fixing the no-fly system, the no-fly list. There was a whole big thing that a 6-year-old ended up on the no-fly list. Some paper currency will no longer be legal tender, yet to be determined. I don't know what that means. Maybe older bills.
Yeah,
and they're not going to get rid of like the pre-2009 or whatever ones. They're going to go for like the pre-1980.
$1.3 billion over
Different kind of
wildlife.
Yeah, they probably aren't in circulation.
$100 million over 5 years to integrate more rural communities. Like, it's a pretty decent budget. I haven't seen it. Doesn't look anything wrong to me.
Anything in regards to what a lot of people that voted for him wanted, which is weed.
I think that's more falling on the province from what it looks like.
Yeah, that's already the issue's already going to be resolved. Though.
But is there? No, I'm saying, is there any money that he's like allocating to it or something like
No,
that?
No,
Is it in
it'll
the
be a
budget?
provincial matter, and so coming up.
So they only legalize it. The provinces then deal with it.
It's kind of be almost like in its way as the United States, how they did it with their states, right? So the states, they have like basically all the control of like their entire thing going on, right? So like what's now going to be happening is like an example, Ontario and Quebec, they have like Quebec has the SAQ and Ontario has the LCBO, right?
Yeah.
So then I think once the legislation is going to get passed in a few months, they have like all provinces have until August to get those organizations up and running, so that they can actually start selling recreational marijuana to people and just marijuana
Though,
in
to my
general,
best of
right?
my knowledge, they don't have to get any organizations up and running. They aren't required to. It's just more so that it will be legal and that it won't be legal to sell privately. So then you'll just in your province have nothing. But I would imagine most provinces will take advantage of that. Might see some.
Well, the
opposition,
federal government's
but
just letting provinces handle it, instead, right?
And then this is one that might have some contention. $173 million to address irregular border crossings and asylum seekers from the United States.
And I mean, it's funny because I did some political writing on this that never got published, unfortunately. But talking about Trudeau back in August starting to get tough on illegal border crossings. And it's funny because for so long he was so lackadaisical about it. And then all of a sudden gets tough and the media is, oh, wow, a tough guy. And some think that's for the better, some think that's for the worse. And, I think it's for the better, but it's too little too late at this point when we're just, letting people across they're people who are fleeing from the States and claiming refugee status, and that's not allowed.
Yeah.
We have the Safe Third Country Agreement, which you cannot claim refugee status from the States.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what happens is once they're across the border, they're across the border. Their refugee status claims will be denied, but
They're arrested. Like, that's what happens.
well, I mean, they're not like sent to jail or anything. They get put in a processing facility, I suppose, and that sounds a lot worse than it is. It's not. I'm not saying it's like Club Med or anything, but it's you get to. They're staying at the Montreal Olympic Stadium, I believe.
Yeah, that's the Haitian.
Yes.
The Haitian asylum seekers.
And so it can take years for their claims to be processed, and while they're being processed, they're just hanging out there.
And now with
So it's just a burden on everyone, It's a shame though.
yeah, but with about 7-8 minutes left, we'll wrap up around 11:50, 11:51.
Fair enough.
The last question and the most important question, based on his budget, based on his trip to India, based on the past couple years of his leadership, does he have a future in winning the 2019 election? Again, following this trip and other scandals that have rocked his prime ministerial time.
I think, like, I was watching Jagmeet Singh's response to his budget, and the Liberals basically ripped off a lot of the NDP pharmacare plan in their budget, but they don't have a means to pay for it, and they don't have a means to implement it. but they ripped off pretty much the entire legislation that the NDP had for their pharmacare program. So Jagmeet Singh's sitting there. He's like, yeah, I would love for them to do it. It's not about the party. It's not about our policies. It's about the people. But they have no way to do it. So I think, I don't think Jagmeet Singh is necessarily kicking Trudeau while he's down, but he's kicking Trudeau while he's down. There's a lot of, I think the dust needs to settle from his India trip. I think that people are going to be grilling him for that for much longer than they would had it been Trump.
Can't wait to
doing
see
it.
that pop up in question period.
Yeah,
It did. It did.
Already?
It was good. Yeah, Mark Strahl. Mark Strahl was really grilling.
Who's that?
He's a Conservative MP.
Okay.
He was really grilling Trudeau about the terrorist who ended up getting the invitation, or the murderer rather.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Trudeau will win the election, and I think that that Andrew Scheer is not going to excite the many factions of the Conservative Party. He's going to excite very few people, and it's going to be tough for him to convince people to get out and vote.
I'm feeling minority. I'm feeling a minority.
Conservative
government.
or liberal minority?
Liberal minority.
Yeah. Well, I think NDP is going to tread new.
Sheer madness.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to do well, to be honest.
The NDP?
The Conservatives.
Oh, the
I think the NDP is
Conservatives.
going to tread new ground. They're going to find. They're going to get seats in places they didn't have seats before.
I don't think anybody could ever lead the NDP like Jack Layton, though.
No,
Yeah,
There's
no.
no-
Well,
you don't know Jack.
Tommy
like-
Douglas.
No, but Jack Layton, he was the contemporary Tommy
Yes.
Douglas.
Had he not gone through so many
I
medical
think the
conditions?
NDP would have won majority had
Yeah.
he not died.
He was real NDP. And
Yeah, I know.
that's what I was getting into is
Yeah.
Jagmeet Singh's very new NDP. He's very new Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And, Jack Layton was not very old. And,
Yeah, no, he's-
Mulcair was kind of a bit of both. But I think that the NDP is going to give up seats in places where they've traditionally done well. But they're also going to get seats in places where they traditionally haven't done as well, I think.
My issue is that you need Quebec to win an election.
Yeah.
And I think with Sikh's racial background, with Singh's racial background, he can't win Quebec.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that's
what I was
my
gonna
only
say,
issue. You need Quebec to win an
Trudeau
election.
has that national.
Yeah, Trudeau's riding is
yeah.
in Montreal, Papineau.
Yeah.
So they're definitely going to get more than the traditional 20%, which will take away from the liberal voters. But I'm feeling liberal minority.
Yeah, I don't think the scandal would be enough to
No.
completely derail.
And a year's a
Trudeau for his
long
election.
time.
I think 2023 is when the Conservatives will win, but I see them doing worse than last year. This year, unfortunately.
Ideally,
I don't know. I disagree.
they're the who?
The Conservatives. I think the Conservatives will do a little better.
I think they will, but not as good as they hope. Just because Andrew Scheer, I don't know how.
He's not the right leader
No,
for
I think
new
Scheer
Conservatives.
is just a personification of everything wrong with the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him give a speech
Sheer
recently. I
madness.
was there, and it was half of it was amazing, and the other half was, oh my god, just typical, everything I hate about the Conservative Party. Just
right.
No, he's a working class dude from what I've read about him.
as soon as he started
he's
fawning,
a humble guy. I like him as a person, but I just don't think he's the right face
He's
for
not
the
a good
party.
leader.
yeah,
I feel like it's a temporary fix, until they find that one person they think they have the best shot to go for in 2020.
you could feel the excited buzz in the room fade away as soon as you started talking about the Ukraine. Nobody cares about it except for Ukrainian Canadians, and it's not why are you making it such an issue? Sure, you can do something about
Well,
it. But
Saskatchewan is full of Ukrainians, right? So I mean,
But Saskatchewan's going to vote Conservative if they have
but it's still I don't know. I guess I see what you're
It's such
saying
a
that he
small
doesn't really care, but
demographic though.
it might be small, but regardless of the demographic, you look at Ukraine, you look at when he talks about Israel and how he's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. You look at how the Conservatives are talking about Armenian genocides. All of these minorities that the Conservatives talk about help them in the sense of attracting them,
right.
because that's something that people think, oh, Conservatives, just white guys.
It's all
right?
these smaller
But,
groups that they
yeah.
can get to.
But I don't think Andrew Scheer is helping that.
Andrew Scheer's not the guy.
no.
Yeah.
But back to Trudeau. So you guys are saying that Trudeau instead of Trudeau for 2019.
Yeah, I think he's going to win, but depending on how he plays his cards the next year and depending on how Jagmeet Singh plays his cards, I'm feeling a nice liberal minority.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm not voting for him, but I will.
Scheer?
Imagine my
for,
shock.
for Trudeau, or for the
Imagine
Liberals,
my
for the
shock.
Liberals rather. And I mean, I'll be voting in Whitby, so I will be voting Conservative, no matter what. I mean, you could get a really bad MP candidate in there, and I might not. But like, I'm gonna say I am going to vote Conservative for sure in Whitby,
And-
because
And do-
Conservatives can win Whitby.
Do any of you guys know when specifically the 2019 election is? Like what time period?
October.
October,
Yeah,
I believe.
October?
or fall.
Yeah.
You know what that means. The Raben Report will be having a special election episode in 2019.
Oh, for sure.
Stay tuned. Any other comments about Trudeau?
Yeah, if I were gonna give Trudeau a rating, like an overall rating for now,
give me a Rotten Tomatoes rating.
Do you want a Rotten Tomatoes?
Fresh?
Give me a rotten. Yeah.
Is he fresh?
Just a couple. Actually, no, maybe like, it's like just past the best before date. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would give him rotten, but I mean,
You give him a 0.
I'm also relatively pessimistic when it comes to politics in general. So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I read this really interesting Vice article. Please don't hate me,
Oh.
Vice.
I
read
used to
this-
love Vice. I used to love.
I read
Vice.
this
Yeah.
really interesting Vice article that was like, this India trip ruined Justin Trudeau's like pretty boy brand.
Oh yeah.
From
He's
here
not
on out,
yeah, he's not
Yeah.
a pretty boy anymore.
from
He's-
here on out, he
he's just a
cannot
goof.
screw up.
Yeah.
And you
So I'd give him like a 6.5, 7.
And you had a reference to Big Trudeau,
Oh, that was Marshall's reference.
or both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, big Trudeau in Little India. Yeah, and I love it because the movie Big Trouble in Little China, starring Kurt Russell, 1986, great film, about a sorcerer who needs a woman with green eyes to break a curse, and I think Trudeau got his nice green eyes.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough to break the curse.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'm sad to say we do have to end early.
Oh, it's
but
okay.
um,
I cry every time.
yeah, same. I'll be
Sad
crying.
reacts
I'll be
only.
crying in this midterm. But yeah, that was our show. Pretty livid discussion. I
Yeah.
think it was pretty good. I know that it really took away some stress of mine of my exam because I
That's
got to
good to
forget
hear.
about it. But now I get to do it. So that was our show for this week. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and messaged us live. I know Matthew said that he loves the show, so thank you, Matthew. But a brand new episode of the Raben Report will be coming to you next week, same day, same time. Have a great day, everyone.